What follows is a spoiler review of American Horror Story 1984. Let's get in and get to slashing. Hello and welcome back to Come Geeksome. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe for all future content. American Horror Story is back. I've absolutely loved the entire series so far. Number 2 is still my favourite, one Stuck in the Asylum, just because it was just a ball to the wall mental. But with this one now, all our main characters are going to Camp Redwood and going to be counsellors for the summer, which just shows that it's pure 80s nostalgia right out of the front gates. Obviously, the 80s horrors, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, there is just tons of homages in this first episode alone. And it's really, really well done, I must admit. Obviously it opens up with a very, very cliche of teens having sex and the killer kills them. The killer is actually called Mr. Jingles, and to be honest with you, it is a fun little name, but when, American Horror Story, they've normally had great killers and everything else, but they only call him Mr. Jingles because his keys. All people hear is when he's walking towards them is his keys jingling, so that's why they call him it. The opening kills, they are quite gruesome and they are quite inventive, but they do harken back to Friday the 13th style kills in part 3, so, just be on the wear out for that. But, he does seem to enjoy slicing his ears off of his victims as well, which is quite interesting. So that'll be good to see how that pans out for the rest of the season. So again, straight away, it goes into the opening, which is just pure 80s. It's a good opening, but it's nothing like the previous seasons where they've had like the maches of, the claymation style of things. This just shows just a bunch of quick clips of aerobics, basically pure 80s. Everything that was fashionable in the 80s, leg warmers, the dancing, the cars. And it even looks like they've taken some effect shots straight out of Kung Fury. So that's where that goes there. Again, but the music for it all is brilliant. Again, well, it's the 80s, isn't it? So it's got to be the synth track, A lot of it sounds like it wouldn't be amiss in Stranger Things. It would actually feel like it's at home in Stranger Things, But moving on, right, so after we see the first kill of the 3 people, it does go straight away into an aerobics class. Here we meet nearly every single character who's going to appear in the series, who may not last long, we don't know yet, but Emma Roberts stars as Brooke. She is our main star of the season, which is a little bit of a gut punch. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Emma Roberts in the previous American Horror Stories, but in this one, we haven't got Sarah Paulson and we haven't got Evan Peters yet. This is going to be the first season where those two are not going to be in the series, which is that is a gut punch, man. To me, those two, along with Jessica Lange, even though Jessica Lange only appeared in 4 or so seasons, having her not in it as well these people are the ones who made the series for me, in my eyes. I'm still waiting to see if Kathy Burke appears as a surprise cameo or something, but she probably won't. Anyway, going back to the aerobics. So, we find out all the characters are there, so we have Emma Roberts, we have Billy Lord, we have Cody, we have quite a few people who are there already, and, they're all just having an aerobics lesson. Some of them are going at it full on, I'm the best, this, that, and the other. But then we see, because Emma Roberts is called Brooke, Billy Lord is called Montana, and these two hit it off in the showers. Again, typical 80s horror genre style, looking at each other up and down. Yeah, it's not bad, you got a cracking bod on you, that sort of thing. And then obviously they go outside, they're waiting, that's when they all meet up. Then one of them, he has the idea, he's saying he's going to be a counsellor at Camp Redwood, which is the newly reopened camp just a few hours down the road from where they are. And obviously they're all a bit like, yeah, okay, whatever, should be fun, blah, blah, blah. Emma Roberts' character, Brooke, she doesn't really want to go, first of all, because, again, she's new in the city and she just wants to get on with her life. But it does show, the next scene, she goes home, you see her, she walks up and eats dinner by herself and gets ready and everything else. And it seems to be that she found either an engagement ring or a wedding ring, and that she used to be married. So obviously that's going to come out soon, and we're going to find out why. Obviously that ring has some significance to it. She goes to bed, and the next thing we know, she is visited by none other than Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, the real-life killer who killed all those women back in the 80s. And, he takes the ring, and it's quite good as well, though, because she does fight back. She grabs a frying pan, whacks him across the face a couple, and then, obviously, neighbours here, and they're like, oh, bang the door, what's happening, and he disappears, and he says he is going to come and get her. So, obviously, with that, then, she's like, yeah, I'm not going to stay here. So, she takes Montana, which is Billy Lord's character, on the offer of going to the camp with him. So, obviously, again, then you've got the typical group on their way to the camp. They're all in the back, all talking, smoking, taking drugs, whatever. And they're all like, yep, we're not going to go. I'm not going to stay there. He knows where I live now, so I may not go back, blah, blah, blah. It does set up that the Night Stalker could have quite a big role in this going forward. And it'll be interesting to see, because obviously we saw him in the hotel when they were having dinner around the table. So if they can create a big parallel shift from 1984 to the hotel one, that'll be great. You never know, maybe that's where he ends up and he dies there and he can't get out. That'll be cool to see. Anyway, obviously they stop for gas on the way, the typical 80s again of the horror slasher genre. They're going there, they fill up, and that's where they bump into none other than Don Swayze, Patrick Swayze's brother. And man, does he look like him, it's crazy. And he says, oh, what's going, he fills up the car for him, does a quick wipe of the windows, and he overhears him saying that, they're going to Redwood and they're going to be counsellors. And typical gas attendant, he warns him, and he says, don't go there, turn around, go back to the city. They should never reopen that place. Which is good, which is cool. Anyway, but they get in the van and they haul ass, they get out of there. On the way, they hit a hitchhiker who was nothing but dazed and confused along the way, so they decide to take him with them, and obviously so he can get seen by the nurse. When we get to the actual camp then, this is where we meet a few other characters. Obviously, we got the camp boss Margaret, played by the always awesome Leslie Grossman. Her character is straight up God-fearing woman who is against everything the 80s stand for and represented. So drugs, sex, excess, everything, she's against the lot. And obviously, she sees them all, they're all talking, and they're all like, yeah, we got this, co-eds, co-ed sleeping, co-ed showers. And she's like, nope, I was in the courtroom when Larry Flint was being done, for his magazine. And they were like, yeah, this is not going to happen. Then this is where we get our backstory for Mr. Jingles, told awesomely by Angelica Ross, who was playing the nurse. Probably about a good 20-odd, 30 minutes in, which is quite good, Again, it's told around a campfire. He used to be in the army. He was one of the top killers, but then he was discharged. And when he was there, in the story, in the army, he used to take the ears from all his victims and he made a necklace out of them. To me, that does remind me of Universal Soldier, because Dolph Lundgren done that as well, And he's, he only cuts it off, he's screaming into it, can you hear me? And, I just love all that. And it's going to be pretty cool to see how all this pans out with Mr. Jingles. So, obviously, being ex-army, he's going to be very stealthy. So, they've actually given a killer now who, again, Freddy was just, a child killer, Jason, he was just teased and abused as a boy and, that sort of thing. Michael Myers just killed his sister when he was, young. And it's interesting to see that a killer actually has a backstory of where he was in the army, so he knows stealth, he knows how to kill people. And that's very, very interesting spin to put on it. Anyway, when they're all talking about this, Margaret turns up and tells them that the story being told is wrong. She goes, 10 wasn't killed, it was only 9. And they're like, how do you know? And she was like, I was one of his victims. And she pulls back her hair and shows that she only has one ear. I thought it was a very cool reveal as well. And it lays down the tension for the rest of the season of what it's going to be like. Because, again, it's an American Horror Story. We have no idea what's going to happen, you know? And Mr. Jingles, man, he is literally straight out of I Know What You Did Last Summer, the way he looks, you know? Fisherman coat, hat, boots, all that. He just looks like he's been pulled from that into this one. And it's really funny. He shoots over then to the hitchhiker, who wakes up in a bed, doesn't know where he is, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And he goes up to the mirror, and we see that he hasn't got an ear. So, is he a victim, or, what's going on? No one knows. But then Brooke turns up, tells him where he is, he wants to visit him, this, that, and the other. And that's when he just flips out, and he's like, no, this is wrong, we can't be here, blah, blah, blah. So, and then we get the 80s then, the classic 80s, two counsellors taking a skinny dip in the lake. You're always going to have this, and this is where Montana, Billy Lord's character, she looks over and she sees a car with the headlights on and they turn off. So and obviously then there's a massive storm going on, and she's like, right, okay, we need to get out of here now. So they all go inside. But with this storm that's coming, it then shoots straight from the camp to a hospital where we see none other than Mitch Pileggi. This guy I absolutely love in whatever he's in. He is absolutely incredible, and I just love watching him work. And I hope he has a big role in this season. And he goes, he's like, patients are out, someone's escaped, blah, blah, blah. And the woman's like, who is it? And he's like, it's Mr. Jingles. And obviously, we've seen a few kills. But then this is where it shoots back to 3 hours. Big sign, 3 hours earlier, in the blood-soaked style of the title. And then that's where we see Mr. Jingles hanging in his cell. And it shows you who Mr. Jingles is. And again, another fantastic actor who has been in so many great roles in his lifetime. Obviously, he's now a 4-time starrer of American Horror Story, and he actually played Twisty the Clown. I'm talking none other than John Carroll Lynch. I am so happy this guy is the main killer. Well, I hope he's the main killer. They may throw a swerve ball again, and he may only last for a couple of episodes, like Twisty the Clown did. But when you see him, and he's faking his own death, he's hanging in his cell, the orderly's like, yeah, that's it, you know how much money you've just saved the taxpayers, blah, blah, blah. But that's when Mr. Jingles wakes up, strangles a guy to death. You think his eyeballs are going to pop out because they all go bloodshot and swallow bread. And he just escapes, walks away, grabs the keys, obviously, Mr. Jingles, and he opens up all the doors. Then it goes back to, obviously, which I thought was amazing, which is Mitch and the other doctor. They go into his room, and on the floor, they see a paper cutout, and it says Camp Redwood has been reopened. Obviously, they know exactly where he's going, and from there onwards, it literally goes into pure 80s slasher territory, where we go back to Don Swayze, who's still working on the car at the garage, and he's under the car, and straight away you know what's going to happen. He sees a couple of legs, he gets pulled out, the lever gets, pulled, and the car crushes Don Swayze. And again, I'm kind of sad. I really hope Don Swayze's in more episodes, and he won just in this for the, like a little cameo sort of thing. But at this moment in time, it's goodbye, Mr. Swayze, we'll see you soon. Which is just actually amazing. But then obviously we see Swayze's tow truck pull up at Camp Redwood, and that's where you see that was actually the headlights that were turned off, who was watching Montana in the river, and it was Mr. Jingles. Then we go back to Brooke, who is actually going over to find the hitchhiker, and check on him again, because I think it must have been like a little. She must have like a little soft spot for him. Obviously, they did run him over. And when they're there and everything else, she can't find him. She closes the door, and he's hanging on the back of the door, dead. And there we go, pure, like, oh my god, here we go, it's going to be a chase. Which it is. She sees Mr. Jingles outside the window. She gets chased by him. She bursts into the counsellor's home, and she's like, "Oh, he's out there. Jingles is out there." And they're all like, "Quick, come on, let's all go." And there's nothing there. You know, they all decide to go and obviously go back into the actual area where the hitchhiker was, and they can't find nothing. Which is just a bit like, ooh, right, okay, what's going to happen now? Anyway, they all go back to bed. It's all over with, apart from Brooke, who cannot sleep, and she hears the phone ringing, the payphone in the actual camp. She looks at it, and she's a little bit confused, and she wakes Montana up. Montana almost stabs her, because she got a flick knife, she sleeps with one, and she's like, "God, the payphone's ringing," and she's like, "So?" And that's when she's like, "Well, they said it didn't work." Anyway, she goes down to answer the phone, which again is, in horror stories, you're like, come on, don't answer the phone, But again, these are the cliches that we all expect. And, we love when these happen. Even though we say don't do them, we want them to do them, But then, anyway, at the very end, she answers the phone. There's a bit of breathing, this, that, and the other. It's like, "I know where you are," and that's really it. And then, up in the woods, is the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. He's watching her. And so this is going to be a very interesting season. And then that was it. It just cuts to black. For an opening season, I thought it was actually really well done. I did really enjoy it, I must admit. Seeing Mitch as well. Mitch is just an awesome actor. I wish he's in a lot more things, because he just has that gravelly voice, that can do it. And I hope he's in it for the rest of the season. But fingers crossed, I'd probably give it a B+ for an opening, and hopefully it'll just go higher and higher. So until then, I'll see all of you in the next video.